San Diego City College is located in the heart of downtown San Diego and is one of 116 community colleges in California. We're the 5th oldest community college in the state, having opened classes in 1914. San Diego City College is one of 3 credit colleges in a district that also includes 7 College of Continuing Education campuses. Our district serves approximately 100,000 students each year, and City College enrolls over 14,000 students every semester. We have a wide variety of educational courses, and students can choose from over 200 different degrees and programs and select from more than 1,100 classes. As an urban college, San Diego City College has one of the most diverse student populations of any post-secondary institution in the region. We are urban, and because of that, we are in an environment where there's a lot of folks locally that are without shelter. And we have programs at City College that serve this type of population, including human services, alcohol and other drug studies, social work, psychology, gerontology, and mental health work. And students come to these programs to train to be out working in the community.
The San Diego Housing Commission oversees resources for the city of San Diego in regards to homelessness and affordable housing. And over the past decade, San Diego has been somewhere in the top 7 to 4 cities in the country as far as homeless population is concerned, whether sheltered or unsheltered. So there's been sort of an ongoing need to create more robust responses to homelessness and to make sure that there's resources available. We receive a lot of federal subsidy, and we administer the Housing Choice Voucher Program. That's one of our largest programs providing affordable housing. We have nearly 16,000 voucher subsidies across the city that we provide. But one of our other main areas of work is in regards to homeless housing innovations. So shelter, interim shelter, rapid rehousing, transitional storage centers, day centers, safe parking programs, a variety of resources in regards to homelessness. All of that funding comes over to the Housing Commission, and we contract with a network of service providers throughout the city. So we hold about 48 contracts, and our annual budget this year is over $110 million. Both city funds, state funds, Housing Commission funds, and federal funds committed to those resources.
What's so unique about our students, not only are they passionate, but they have the lived experiences of the things we talk about in my classes. I teach human services, social work. So the folks who tend to major in social work and in our alcohol and other drug studies programs, they are people who know what it's like to struggle. It's such an amazing thing for them to come into our classes wanting to learn what they can also do to better other people's lives. So many have either grown up in foster care.
I started off as a foster child myself, but I was lucky because I actually was adopted by a family member, my aunt. So I always knew what the foster care system was because I was in it. Everybody would always ask me what I wanted to be growing up, and I would be like a pediatrician or a foster mom. So I always knew what it was because she set such a great example.
They have been formerly incarcerated.
I led a very protected, sheltered, upper middle class, white picket fence existence until I grew up and moved away from home, and I started dabbling in drugs, and all the things that people do to support their habit, I did. And I ended up in and out of the prison system. I signed away some rights to children, and that loss and trauma kept me using for a long time, and I hit some deep, dark, ugly places, and it took me into trafficking, it took me into drug sales, it took me into all the ugly places, and I did a lot of risky behavior. I was a sex worker for a long time. I was an IV drug user, and I didn't think I'd ever get out of that lifestyle. I was tired of living that way, but I didn't know how to get out of it, and the times I tried, the systems weren't there to support me. And drug treatments were always available, and that is like, you must stop now, and let's not really talk about the reason you used or where you're going back to, but right now we need you to stop and get it together. And I tried and tried and tried, and it just didn't work for me for a long time. And eventually I have a power that's bigger than myself, and I had said a prayer one day, and I got arrested about 30 minutes later. I knew when that happened that, like, okay, all the stuff had a bigger purpose for me.
They have been homeless themselves. Some of them are still homeless.
I found myself that I was homeless at some point of my life. I was going back and forward with my kids to the border. I mean, that I was homeless with my kids in a car. I have to go to the therapist at the hospital, speech and language, and the physical therapist, and I have to wait with my kids in a car or outside the Walmart, or go to the park and play there, games, board games, football, to make them wait and don't realize that we have no home.
For them to want to learn how they can grow in this industry and learn how to work with other people and lift them up, that's such an amazing thing for me to see as an educator. And those are the people that we get in our classrooms.
I think what's critical around creating an effective homelessness crisis response system is that you have to understand that people fall into homelessness for a variety of reasons, and their level of barriers may be very minimal to very high. So it's critical when you have a spectrum of need to have a spectrum of interventions to meet that need, so that you're aligning the right resource to best meet that person's need and their homelessness as quickly as possible and permanently. But that doesn't mean that someone that's just fallen into homelessness for the first time and it's a situational factor is going to need a lot of resources forever. They probably aren't. So you shouldn't be spending more than you need on someone who doesn't need a lot. And you also don't want to create an institutionalized dependency when people can thrive with a little bit of intervention. So creating a spectrum of intervention to meet a spectrum of need is critical to long-term success. That way nobody gets left behind.
When you're coming into any of the helping professions, whatever population you're going to be working with, people experiencing homelessness, people who are working but still can't make enough to find a steady place to live. They may be people experiencing mental health issues. They may be people experiencing substance abuse issues. If you're not ready and prepared to come into this work, meaning you don't understand what the systems look like, you don't understand the policies and the laws that inform the work and how that's going to look like, it is imperative to understand. So people who don't understand those systems and then also aren't emotionally and mentally prepared to come into this work, they tend to have a difficult time. This work is not easy.
Our students need to realize that they need to look at people as individuals and that their individual cases may require different services. So this broadens their knowledge. It helps them be a better worker in the Human Services Agency. It creates respect for our population, which we need to have and should have. And it certainly can lead to more enjoyment of appreciating what you are doing when working with folks who need your help.
We built this curriculum that allows the students to take a bird's eye view of what the services and the systems look like, all the way down to what it will be like when they're sitting across a person struggling, and how they can make sure they're not only caring for that person's well-being, but for their own.
Over the last several years, the last 2 to 3 years, we're one of the few major jurisdictions on the West Coast that has actually seen reductions in homelessness. So we're having some real impact on the state of housing and homelessness needs in our city and our region, which is great. But with that impact comes new programming and new funding sources. And what we were starting to hear from our provider network is that they were having a harder and harder time, and it was taking longer and longer to stand up new programs just to get the staffing resources needed to be successful.
They were seeing that there's this gap in finding people to work in these positions. And what was interesting is that many of the agencies did hire people who had bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, but they weren't staying. Or they were having a really hard time filling some of the peer-to-peer type positions. So Lisa, in her brilliance, I believe she had come upon the statistics that our own students, especially here at San Diego City College, we have the highest rate of homeless students within the county.
So the challenge we were seeing as we were implementing new programs is that it was getting to the point where there was always a level of vacant positions that couldn't be filled. So if you had a program that consisted of 27 staff, maybe at any given time 22 would be filled. And it'd just be like an ongoing recruitment of getting staff on board. And then when we do hire, maybe retention issues. Retention because the work is challenging and you really need to understand and be well experienced and trained in doing this work effectively. We certainly have to come with a passion for the work, but also in retention in regards to hiring away from each other, because there's only so many skilled staff in that staffing pool to pull from, and so agencies would end up hiring away. So one agency, one service provider would be investing in their team and doing that training and building them up and building sort of that foundational knowledge, and then that person would naturally, because they have career development needs as well, move on to the next job, right? So we were getting to the point where we were realizing is that we just needed to broaden and deepen our staffing pool, and we needed to figure out how to reach folks that maybe don't understand that for good or for bad, homelessness has become an industry. It's a skilled workforce. It's a needed workforce in this community. If we continue to find ways to allocate funding, then we need the staff to do the work. So we needed to start figuring out how to build that workforce up, and training opportunities that were accessible and affordable to a lot of people and really targeted the folks that are interested in that work. San Diego City College just kind of naturally came up as a really good place to start.
And this was a way for us to help the community. So we came up with a program, and we call it PEER, Program for Engaged Educational Resources. We believe it's the first of its kind to train students to work in human service organizations and agencies serving populations who are experiencing or are at risk of homelessness. We had two founding common goals when we launched this program. We wanted to create a pipeline of qualified candidates for the region's human services positions and address the challenges that employees face that can increase retention in these positions. So our main goal then was to come up with a class that we figured would be unique to serve this population. And it turned out we wanted to do a one-unit course. It's about 16 hours, but there was so much content that we wanted to include, whether we had CPR or agencies or state laws or local laws or policies or even psychological things to think about, that we expanded it to a 2-unit course. It didn't take us long to figure that out.
So there's courses that exist around the types of training that you need to serve in a homeless sector, but there's nothing that specifically teaches about the homeless sector, about the national practices, the national policies, about how the region system operates, what the challenges and the benefits are to working in that, understanding what the community standards are around homelessness and what the major programs are, and then connecting you to sort of a network of providers to understand what your educational and career opportunities are. So we wanted to sort of fill that niche. We want to grab a hold of those students of social work that tend to be compassionate, mission-driven people and go, work in the homelessness sector, we need you, you're welcome, we will do everything we can to help make this a successful career for you.
We have a president, Ricky Shabazz, and a vice president, Tilly Chavez, who are very supportive of reaching out to see what we can possibly do to meet the needs. So when the San Diego Housing Commission came to us, they probably considered us for 2 reasons. One of them is our desire to work with our neighbors, and actually they are located down the street from us, and the courses that we offer where we focus. And they looked into behavioral sciences, which is the school that I operate. So the courses that they were looking for were courses that prepare people to work in human services jobs.
We believe in partnering with other community representatives and entities within the downtown core. And City College serves a really diverse population. And it's also at a community college level, it's very accessible because it's affordable. And another thing that I think is really critical is that sometimes folks who have experienced homelessness or that homelessness system themselves or experienced significant challenges or barriers to housing are the best to turn around and work in that field because they become that peer-to-peer engagement and response. We wanted to create an open door, right? And it seemed like City College was the place to do that. And then once we reached out to them and we identified that they had a whole school of social work, a full-time embedded school of social work, it was just, it was almost a perfect match. It was just so exciting.
In that initial meeting, myself and my colleagues, our faculty, we said, you know, we have students who are ready for this work. These are not students that you're going to have to teach empathy to, because they literally know firsthand what it's like to experience homelessness or be at risk of homelessness.
And I have all 5 of my kids very active in my life. I have amazing support. And with all of that privilege, I have made the decision to do something to make an impact and to be that system for other people that I didn't have for myself. So I started at City College in the Alcohol and Other Drug Studies program. I completed that with a certificate, and I got connected with Karen. I took all the courses she offered, and I graduated the Alcohol and Other Drug Studies with high honors. And during that time, I began to work really closely in harm reduction and work with people on the streets and work in syringe service programs and meeting people right there where they're at. And a good 80 to 90% of the people who access those services do not live in a home that you and I may recognize as a house or a home. And so when Karen had told me, hey, we're going to do this program, I immediately jumped on it. I worked for a long time as a case manager and substance use counselor. And so this program, I think, really brings the Regional Task Force on the Homeless, it brings the city, it brings the county, it brings the point in time counts, it brings the all of the different things that are important in helping individuals find their way. So we need to look at substance use, trauma, loss, connection, supports, all the things, and that is my hope for this program, is to have it train and really get the information out there to individuals who want to do the work but just don't have the tools.
When Miss Mack came to me and told me that she was doing this course, I was like, that's amazing, because I feel like when somebody says the word homeless, people automatically put something bad to it. That's why I think this class is wonderful, because it teaches you the different dynamics of homelessness. You learn so much in that class that it changed my whole mind. We talked about how many youth is just out there by themselves. They're our future. So why not let them grow, and we should plant a seed in them so a tree can grow. So that's what I want to do.
They present us the peer program, and they say, we're going to find out here how we're going to help you. You're going to be involved. You're going to get a job. You're going to further your education, and you're going to help more people. There's a lot of resources. And I say, okay, yes, that's what I want to do. Since 2016, I was at school. Now in 2020, I got my associate in social work. And I'm planning to go to SDSU to finish over there.
It's a brand new class, so for my faculty out there and the folks who understand what it takes to push curriculum, make sure it gets pushed through your curriculum committee and then gets approved by the district, gets approval from the state, learning outcomes, you're meeting guidelines, you're in line with whatever accreditation standards. That process alone can easily take 2 years. But because we have such phenomenal staff here at City, and because we have people who work very closely with me to get this all done as soon as possible, I was able to present to them, and they still said, wow, I get it. Yes, we need this class, we need this program. All approvals were made.
In talking with Lori Erica, the dean there, and Tilly Chavez, the vice president, they really shared that it can take several years to get a new course, a new curriculum up and running. But somehow, under COVID, with all of the additional pressures of that, the team just really pulled together and got that curriculum up and running a lot faster than apparently would normally happen, which is really exciting because the need is even greater now.
It's been such a solid partnership between us and the San Diego Housing Commission. And that excites me because a lot of times as faculty, we get stuck on teaching theory and teaching practice, but we need to know what's actually happening in the field. Is this what the employers are looking for? What is happening law-wise, policy-wise, especially around homelessness, because it changes every year? What is happening that will affect the job prospects? What's happening that's going to affect internships and volunteer placements for our students? So to have this live working relationship where we get this information firsthand and we can directly provide that to our students and adjust as we need, that's been an amazing part of building this program.
The first time we offered it was fall of 2020, and we filled it immediately. The cap was 40. I think we had about 45 people that came in to take it.
It's definitely a new thing for the Housing Commission. Housing Commissions don't necessarily partner to build a whole new curriculum, but we see that part of our responsibility is to kind of see the icebergs coming, right? And to be able to support and strengthen the capacity of our provider network that we contract with. So coming to City College with this problem, we built a curriculum together, and I've committed staffing resources to support Kieran as the professor, for getting subject matter experts in to come and talk on different panels, and for helping facilitate connections to the HR departments of the different service providers for the career counseling piece, so that it really is a holistic, integrated program that takes students from that initial learning objective to hopefully career placement.
We will be placing students, and we are beginning to do that now, in human service occupations. And also, we're going to be doing internships. We're finding that if a student has worked in a particular industry for a while, they learn to really enjoy it, and it's much easier for them to get a job. Or they may decide it isn't something for them, and it's good for them to know ahead of time before they actually get into a job. That all feeds into retention. But we also realize the importance of having an academic counselor. When you have an academic counselor paired with a particular discipline or subject, you can have about an 80% retention rate and completion rate. It is a really key, important aspect of support for our students, knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel with a degree or a certificate or even a job.
I work for the County of San Diego, so I'm a residential care worker, and I work directly with foster youth. They stay with us until a social worker gets involved and can get them the proper placement. It doesn't matter that you were homeless. You can still make it out and become productive and become great like you're supposed to be.
When I heard about this program, I said, it's what I need. I need to pay back somehow. And I know I'm going to do it, and I'm not.
Along the way in the last year, I began a nonprofit. I quit my job and wrote a grant, and I work closely with the National Harm Reduction Coalition and a number of other organizations to eliminate hepatitis C in San Diego, and then we've worked really closely to lift the syringe service ban. And so we started a mobile needs-based program. People call us and we go to wherever they are. We test drug supply, so we have fentanyl test strips. Drug overdose and poisoning is huge. We provide Narcan and overdose reversal training, and we provide safe smoking and injecting supplies, and then referrals, warm handoffs, HIV, hepatitis C, COVID testing, and we've enrolled over 700 people in the last 4 months, and our Narcan has saved over 200 lives. We get to know them and remind them that they matter. We hand out positive affirmations, and we talk about goals, and we work to discover what positive changes they want to make.
I love to cook, and all the time that I can do it, I cook for homeless people. So I go through the highland, basically. There's a lot of people with tents, and all the time that I can, I offer a meal. It's not too much, but I'm trying to do something but I used to be homeless. It's just been labeled because they don't have a home. And we don't know their circumstances. So I'm just trying to help. The little that I can do, I know it's very valuable, because you don't know when you're gonna change someone's life. Just to offer them a meal. I'm sorry.
By the time I hit 20, I decided, hey, I want to be a foster parent. So I went through all the classes, I did everything, and I started getting kids. And that's when I first started learning about shelters, because I knew about them, but I thought the shelters were only for like homeless that were on drugs or everything. I didn't know that it was a family dynamic to it. To me, we need to change the narrative on that as well, because I really got to know like a lot of parents, and some of the parents, it changed my mind on what homeless people were. A person that just had like a slight downfall, or, people that came out here that's running away from a situation, or I never even thought about it in the way of a woman running from a man and she's just trying to protect her kids.
I used to ask them their name, and they say, I like you don't call me homeless. They just say, thank you. Thank you because you see me. I like that you're giving me my name. I'm a human, and I'm not just a person who's going around with my card. So I love that you call me by my name.
We're working with human beings. We're working with people who have had very challenging experiences, and we're trying to find ways to strengthen them so they can turn their own lives around. That's not easy work to do. So you need that specialized training, you need that education, and you need to be able to hear from people in this field who can very frankly and candidly tell you what it's like, what to expect, what to look out for, how to take care of yourself for those really tough days you're going to have working in these positions.
And our goal is to stay in this with them as a long-term partnership. We're getting so much good feedback from the students, and we're hearing from people all over the country asking about what we're doing, both in the housing industry, homeless industry perspective, and in the educational industry perspective. So, it's even more rewarding when there's the opportunity to maybe perpetuate something outside of your own boundaries and help others.
I've worked with a lot of homeless activists around the country, and people from all over are really excited about this. How do we get a program like that here in our state or in our city? And people who've been working in homeless services for 25 plus years. So I look forward to the expansion and continuing of this.
We hope that it can be a model for others who would like to work with unsheltered in their communities, but the passion we have for this program and the support we have from the entire district, including our college, helped us put this together rapidly.
The peer program helped me because I know exactly what part of the social services I want to be in. I want to work with the youth that doesn't have anybody, so they're homeless by themselves. And I want to create centers and the kids live there, and they create a family dynamic, which you live in a house. They have people that live there and they're considered house parents, and they also have staff that work there. But the children, they can work there and they go to school there, so everything is right there. It's setting you up for everything. So I know that with all these homeless youth that's out there, this would be something that would be great for them, because it's letting them know, hey, we understand you're on your own, but this is a place that can help you.
It helped me to realize that there is a lot of help that persons can provide to others, and we just need to put ourselves back again sometimes in their shoes.
The peer program helped me because I wasn't sure that I had it in me to be a voice at the table. I knew that changes needed to be made, but I didn't know that I belonged at a table, or that I could sit at a table, or that I could have the tools and today be recognized as an expert at the table. And so I think that's what the program has done, is it's supported me in believing in myself and having the connections that I may not already have to get into places that I want to be.
The passion I have is to know that there's people out there that need help. They don't know somebody really cares about them. They don't know that we're really training people to think about what they might need. We're going to make a difference. That is really what we want to do. Of course, we're going to have to have measurements to show that. But when you're unsheltered and you don't feel secure, you may not have enough food, to know that we're going to be able to train people in techniques, in knowing about what the challenges might be, so that when they work with someone, when a person in that situation comes in, they're going to realize they're actually going to be helped.